Hello, everyone. Professor Jason here again with week 13 of Host 1085 Principles of Hospitality and Tourism. So, this is the audio for the slideshow that I've created for this class for this week in place of an in class lecture. So, the best thing to do is to listen to the lecture, watch the slides, but also open up the PowerPoint slideshow that I will be posting with this in Blackboard so you can follow along later and click on the links. So in this slideshow, there are quite a few links to videos. I'm not going to be playing the videos in this slideshow recording, so you'll have to go back and click those videos on your own. I've included a few videos at the end of the lecture that are optional. They're actually websites with some embedded videos if you want a bit more background on the history of technology in travel and tourism. So that's the theme for this week: technology in tourism, impact, and new trends. So exciting stuff. As always, we begin by covering a couple of interesting destinations. The first one is Angkor Wat in Cambodia. So this is a place that I had the pleasure of visiting a couple of years ago with my wife and two children. We had a private tour guide with Urban Adventures in Cambodia, and it was a really amazing place to visit. So it's a sprawling complex. It's the largest religious site in the world. Uh, Most of the buildings are no longer there. It's a very old city that was kind of lost in the jungle, and it was discovered um, in the I think it was the early 20th century, maybe late 19th century. So a bit about Angkor Wat. It's the main attraction of the Angkor Temple complex, most frequently shown on pictures about Cambodia. In fact, its shape is depicted on the Cambodian flag, much the way that the maple leaf is on the Canadian flag. Angkor Wat was built, it wasn't built by King Surya Varman II, it was built for him. He would have had people build it for him. He didn't do it all himself. In the beginning of the 12th century, its construction lasted 37 years, and it covers an area of 1,500 by 1,300 meters. So it's a sprawling complex spread over 3 levels and is surrounded by 4 protective walls. The temple was built according to Brahmin techniques to represent the entire universe. The central tower represents the sacred Mount Sumeru, situated at the center of the universe. The 5 towers make the symbolism consistent with the 5 legendary peaks of Mount Sumeru. The outer wall represents the end of the world, kind of the edge, uh, the vast nothingness surrounding the world. And the surrounding moat represents the surrounding ocean. So, needless to say, tourism at Angkor Wat is massive. Over 2.6 million tourists visit the site every year. Over $100 million is generated in revenue by selling passes to get into this historic site. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site, so it's one of the most important places in the world to protect. And Chinese tourists top the list of visitors, followed by tourists from Vietnam, Laos, Thailand, and South Korea. So it's a place that I would highly recommend going. It's one of these bucket list destinations. And speaking about Cambodia, it's a beautiful country. The people are very kind, but there is some terrible history that happened in Cambodia with the Khmer Rouge and the conflicts that spilled over after the Vietnam War. Vietnam being the country next door to the east of Cambodia. So that's Angkor Wat. The second destination I wanted to talk about today is North Korea. This is a place that is extremely difficult to get to. I have a few friends that have taken trips there, and the only way that you can go is with an organized tour, and it has to be approved by the North Korean government. You are supervised the whole time. You can never leave the group. You stay where the tour company wants you to stay. You see what the tour company wants you to see. The experience there feels very fabricated. Um, it's almost too nice. You feel like there's something else going on there. So Pyongyang is the capital, and it's the largest city. They uh, they limit the number of visitors per day. In 2019, only 1,000 people a day were allowed to visit North Korea. So, needless to say, tourism not a big industry in North Korea. A lot of the tourism that they do have is about portraying North Korea in a positive light. So they want to control that very strictly. They only get about 10,000 visitors per year, so they don't max out at 1,000 visitors per day. It's actually far less than that. So what I've included here is the link. It's a video just over 2 minutes long. It's a virtual reality tour. So it was created by a company, and if you click on that link, it's a YouTube, and it's done in that 360-degree uh, kind of format. So it's not virtual reality with goggles, but it gives you a sense of being there. You can pan around and click on different things. So it's kind of like a bit of virtual reality with some augmented reality. So we'll get into the main point of this lecture, which is travel technology, how technology is used in travel, tourism, and hospitality. So travel technology, it's also called tourism technology and hospitality automation. It's really the application of information technology and information and communications technology, otherwise known as IT or ICT, in the travel, tourism, and hospitality industry. Uh, some forms of travel technology are flight tracking, trip planning through online travel agencies, and the use of search engines and social media to plan your trip. The way this all got started was um, creating a way to manage the booking of flights. So, a little bit later in the lecture, you'll learn a bit more about the Sabre system and how the booking of flights and needing to make that easier and faster really started this whole use of computers and technology in the travel industry. So, since travel implies locomotion, it kind of makes sense that technology, the first technology used was in helping people get from one point to another. Um, with this travel technology, with booking flights, it then moved into booking hotels, train tickets, airport transfers, and car rentals. So technology is so important to the modern world, and especially with tourism and travel. Technology makes things easier, or at least it's supposed to, and it speeds things up. So we'll get into that, and new technologies are also opening up new possibilities within tourism and travel, which we'll get to as well. So you might hear travel technology referred to as e-travel or e-tourism. That's in reference to electronic travel or electronic tourism, sort of like email is electronic mail. It's there are a bunch of different facets to it, which I'll break down in uh, a couple of slides from now. So all this information I pulled off of Wikipedia. So if you want to read more about travel technology just in general, the link at the bottom of the slide leads to that Wikipedia page. So how it all began, like I said, with booking flights. So for many years, flight reservation was an off-putting, difficult task. It was something that took a lot of people a lot of time to do. So commercial aviation, we're talking passengers getting on a plane and flying to another location, really got started in the 1940s, and it was something that only wealthy people could afford. As technology advanced, flights became more affordable, more people started flying, and airlines realized that using a paper system and taking reservations over the phone really wasn't going to work. It was going to cost a lot of money and require a lot of manpower. So 20 years or so down the road, in the 60s, the whole booking process could be accomplished in minutes through a travel agent equipped with a computer system. Fast forward to today, and we walk around with these computers in our pockets. We can book flights while we're sitting in a cafe sipping a latte or out walking a dog. So it's really transformed the entire industry. The video on this slide, if you click on that, it's a video just under 8 minutes long, and it's a really concise history of how we went from booking flights on a telephone with a travel agent to booking flights on a smartphone without a travel agent. It really is amazing how the internet and mobile phones and smartphones have completely transformed the industry. All right, so let's get into the different technologies. So, technology continues to change how travelers gain access to and use travel related information. For many businesses and locations, the experience starts long before a traveler arrives. Pre travel planning is a fundamental step in trip planning and helps the customer obtain knowledge about their upcoming trip. Before the internet, the way that people researched their travel was through magazines, through guidebooks, and usually it involved a trip to visit a travel agent and sit down with them, explain what kind of a trip or vacation you're looking for, and they would make recommendations. All of the information was in the head of the travel agent. With the internet, now this is the first stop people make when planning a trip. They go online, they get inspired, they get ideas, and what this has done is it has decentralized the information. You used to have to go to an expert for all of this. Now you can sit at home on your laptop, or nowadays with a smartphone, you can sit anywhere and plan your dream vacation. So users are now able to search for videos, social media posts, customer reviews, and places for shopping and dining, events, tours, all of that in one place. Online travel agencies have virtually replaced the entire travel agent industry. There still are travel agents and travel agencies, but far more people are doing all of that on their own with the aid of online travel agencies. These are booking engines which allow easy access to uh, systems for making reservations, comparing prices. I would be surprised if no one in this class has ever not visited one of these websites or an online travel agency like Expedia, Travelocity, TripAdvisor. These are all OTAs. Expedia is one of the largest, and there is a video later on in the lecture you can click on which will talk about the evolution of OTAs, where they came from. So these online travel agencies help users plan and book trips and provide cost comparisons between hotels, flights, vacation packages, etc. So we've gone from in-person travel agencies to online. And like I said, this gives the customer more power and choice in planning their trip. Customer reviews. This is huge. Most people, before they travel, they'll look at the reviews left by other visitors, reviews of hotels, of restaurants, things like that. I don't think I need to go into much detail, but the acronym for sharing reviews and information is referred to as EWOM, or electronic word of mouth. So generally websites that have reviews are more trusted, and people tend to put a lot of trust and faith in what other people have written about hotels. A great series of reviews will lead to more bookings. A bunch of bad reviews can really damage a business. Something that a lot of hotels and tour operators are learning the hard way about is managing their online reputation and there are actually businesses that offer services in coaching and managing your online reputation for you. So that's a whole industry unto itself. So continuing with more of the technologies, social media and mobile. The introduction of smartphones and mobile applications has also had a not even a big effect, a massive effect on the tourism industry. Social media posts allow users to gather information free of marketing bias. So this means a guest stays in a hotel, they post on Facebook, they've checked in, they put up photos of their hotel room, they talk about how great things are there. Their friends see those posts and go, wow, I want to stay there the next time I am visiting that destination. GPS and social media apps allow users to tag and share their locations, and travelers no longer need to print out directions. When I first started traveling, this was before smartphones. If I was visiting a new city, I would purchase a paper map. I would study it. I would carry the map with me. I would walk around with a travel guidebook for that destination. And with the map and the guidebook, those are my tools to explore. Now I can carry a smartphone, and with that smartphone, I have Google Maps, I have TripAdvisor, I have access to Lonely Planet's online guidebooks, and from my phone, I can make bookings as well. So it's really transformed travel from the customer perspective. As a tour guide, when I was learning to guide in another city, I would spend hundreds of hours studying the maps. I had to know the city inside and out. I had to be able to draw a map of the area of the city I would be visiting and leading a tour in. I had to know the names of all the streets. I had to be able to recall a lot more information than what I do now. So tour guiding has become a lot easier because of mobile technology. And applications such as Uber and Lyft have also made traveling easier. It used to be uh, difficult for people to get into a taxi, give directions, especially if it was in a foreign language, and trust the taxi driver to deliver you as quickly as possible and as inexpensively as possible to your destination. Now, with Uber and Lyft, you plug in, you type in your destination, the driver uses their smartphone with the built in GPS mapping technology to get you there. Um, when I lived in Vietnam, I used taxis quite a bit. I had to learn basic instructions in Vietnamese. I had to know where I was going. And then I discovered they had Uber and another kind of Uber like service called Grab. And with that, I no longer needed to be able to speak to the driver directly. I didn't have to worry about them not understanding my directions or where I needed to go. It made things so much easier. So Ubers and Lyfts can also be used in place of a rental car. A lot of people are uncomfortable driving in a foreign country, and the Ubers and Lyfts just make it that much easier to get around. With mobile communication, many travelers, I would say nowadays most, take some form of mobile communication device with them on the road, whether it's a tablet or a computer or a mobile phone. To keep customers advised of changes, many tourism and hospitality businesses use mobile communication. They send delay notices, they offer deals, and sponsor location based advertising. What this is if you're, say, in Rome, a company, a restaurant might pay for a service where when you're within a few hundred meters of the restaurant, your smartphone alerts you to a deal or like a special at that restaurant to try and entice you to come in. Depending on the type of business, the communication might happen through emails, text messaging, or GPS tagging. So those are the main technologies that have influenced tourism and travel. So now we'll get into 7 trends in travel technology. These are the newest kinds of technology that you'll find in the tourism and hospitality industry. The 7 different trends are the Internet of Things, or IoT, recognition technology, virtual reality, or VR, augmented reality, or AR, robotics, artificial intelligence, and big data. And I pulled these 7 trends from a really great website called RevFine. RevFine.com is a website, it's a platform that shares information about the tourism and travel industry. It's a website I would highly recommend, and what I'm going to be doing the next several slides is information pulled from this website. I just thought it was really well put together and explained things really well. So, the first of those 7, the Internet of Things. One of the most exciting emerging travel technological trends is the Internet of Things, which involves internet based interconnectivity between everyday devices, allowing them to both send and receive data. So you might have in your home a Google Dot or Alexa or any one of these devices that you can speak to. It talks back to you. You can control your television through it. You can control Spotify. You can adjust the lights. So this is what the Internet of Things is. It's devices that communicate with each other and allow you to communicate with a variety of devices. And this is only going to increase. For instance, IoT technology can be used in hotel rooms to provide customers with a device that connects to everything from the lights to the heaters, the air conditioning, allowing all of it to be controlled from one place. In airports, luggage cases can be installed with sensors that will alert passengers when they pass by. There's a really good video here, the Smart Technology, Smarter Airports. It's just over 3 minutes, and it shows how this interconnectivity, the Internet of Things, can be used in airports to make traveling through the airport from arrival to check-in to waiting for your flight to boarding to make it all much, much smoother and faster. So definitely watch that video. Recognition technology. So recognition technology is especially interesting within this list of key such tech trends due to its potential for removing friction from purchases and making interactions seamless. What I mean by removing friction is just making things easier. The technology itself includes fingerprint recognition, facial recognition, retina scanning, and various other biometric identifiers. So you might have heard of biometrics before. So this is using unique features on your body to identify who you are and to prove you are who you say you are. Such technology is already being used in some hotels to allow access to rooms via fingerprints or facial recognition technology, or to allow for semi-contactless checkouts. So this is when you're finished staying at your hotel, you can walk to the desk, you don't even need to talk to anyone, you can basically check out without needing to let anyone know face to face. There's a really cool video on the slide, facial recognition check-in in Marriott, China. This shows how this kind of technology is being used today in some hotels, and in particular this Marriott. Virtual reality, or VR. We touched on this a little bit with North Korea. Virtual reality has exploded in recent years with increased availability of virtual reality headsets as home entertainment products. I remember trying one of the earliest versions of virtual reality probably 25 years ago or more. It was really crude. It was very basic. It was really just geometric shapes that you could interact with in a virtual room. Now, the technology is amazing with faster computer processors, with better graphics, better texture rendering. You can get more realistic simulations of reality. It's one of the most promising tech trends for tourism-related companies because it allows them to digitally transport customers to a virtual recreation of a specific place. This affords hotels the opportunity to showcase their rooms, reception areas, and even local tourist hotspots on their website in order to encourage bookings and to get you excited. Other examples might include interactive virtual maps or VR hotel tours and 360-degree video tours to present your hotel upfront. There's a great example of this in the YouTube video on this slide, the world's first virtual reality travel search and booking experience. So this is the direction that VR could head, where you put on a pair of goggles and in this virtual world, you can book all of your travel. Augmented reality, or AR. Augmented reality is similar to virtual reality, but involves augmenting a person's real surroundings rather than replacing them. One of the major plus points of this particular technological trend is that it is cheaper than VR. Virtual reality requires a huge amount of computing power, a lot of time spent developing these virtual worlds, and it only requires a smartphone or a tablet which has access to the internet. Through graphical overlays, those in the tourism industry can greatly enhance the customer experience, providing customers with valuable information or even pure entertainment. For instance, apps can allow for photographs to be augmented through filters and effects. Details about local destinations can also be displayed as a customer points their smartphone at them, providing information at the exact time that it is most relevant. So, for example, you could be walking around a city, you have an augmented reality app that is about public art. You walk up to a statue, you point your smartphone at the statue, you look at the statue through your phone, and if there's augmented reality, it will overlay information. It might even animate the statue or the work of art. Some very cool stuff happening in augmented reality. A lot of museums are making use of this technology to make their exhibitions really come to life. And it's especially popular with children. I went to an AR equipped exhibit at the Royal Ontario Museum. In the dinosaur exhibits, there were places where you could use a tablet or that was built into the exhibit, or you could use your own smartphone with the app and point your camera at a dinosaur, and the dinosaur on your camera would come to life and roar at you. And it was a very cool thing. My kids loved it. So I've included a link here to Google Maps AR navigation. So this is uh, something that could be used in any city where, let's say you're in uh, New York, you come out of the subway, you don't know which way to go, you load up the app, you look around through your phone, and overlaid on that image on your phone screen would be directions to whatever it is you're looking for, and then information about the area. So this will help travelers get around areas that they would otherwise have difficulty navigating. Robotics. Even a decade ago, the idea of robots being deployed regularly within the travel industry would have seemed like the work of a science fiction writer. Yet, it is becoming increasingly prevalent, with artificially intelligent robots, often equipped with speech recognition technology, being used in place of information points by chains like Hilton. Robots are also utilized for a variety of other reasons. For example, in airports, they can be used to detect concealed weapons, while some manufacturers are also using robotics to create luggage cases that intelligently follow you around. Moreover, travel agents are using robots for pre screening, making waiting times more productive for customers. So, robotics right now is used primarily as a gimmick, it's a fun thing. I mean, you don't really need your luggage to follow you around, you can pull it. Um, a robot at a hotel that serves to help check you in um, isn't really necessary or better than having a human being, but it's kind of cool. So I've included a couple of links. There's a link here with a video about TravelMate, which is a robotic suitcase, and a Japanese hotel run by robots. So it's kind of a fun thing to watch. So watch those two videos. Next up is artificial intelligence, or AI. Away from robots, artificial intelligence is being used in other ways too. Perhaps the most obvious use within the travel and tourism industry is for customer service purposes, with chatbots possessing the ability to deliver rapid response times to problems or queries. It is also able to continuously learn from interactions with customers. So, this is the main thing about artificial intelligence. It's the ability of the program to learn. So, the more questions it receives, the more interaction it has, the smarter it gets. In many ways, Google uses artificial intelligence to figure out what it is exactly that you're looking for based on how happy people have been with their previous search results. Um, it's kind of interesting to watch chatbots in action, and I've included a link at the bottom um, with a YouTube video about 1.5 minutes long, which will demonstrate how a chatbot can be used to answer questions and to ask questions and get information from the customer. So, in addition, hotels and other companies operating in the tourism industry can make use of artificial intelligence to accurately and continuously sort through data. It will be able to draw conclusions about business performance or trends associated with customer satisfaction, and even intelligently manage inventories. And the last big trend is big data. In modern tourism management, big data is a fact of life, and almost all companies that are successful employ their own data collection techniques. Even a small company like mine, I am really interested in data, in how customers behave, when they book, how they book, all that sort of stuff. One of the biggest uses for this data is to improve personalization, with travel companies using the information they gather to make specific adjustments to their offerings. Personalization is a trend that is growing very quickly in travel. Customers tend not to want to have the same kind of experience as everyone else. They want their vacation to be unique. They want to go to a restaurant that becomes their new favorite restaurant, that has the perfect music for them, the right menu selection, all of that. From a travel provider perspective, knowing what the customer likes is extremely helpful. It allows us to give them that kind of personalization. Another valuable use for data is to analyze current business performance. In particular, hotel owners can use big data for revenue management purposes using historic occupancy rates and other past trends to better anticipate levels of demand. So, looking at all of the data, when people stay, how long they stay, how busy they are on certain days of the week versus others, or certain weeks of the year, or certain months of the year, they can better anticipate how many staff they'll need, how many rooms they'll need, all of that. So, it's really important for managing a business efficiently to know that kind of information. When demand is predictable, pricing and promotional strategies can also be optimized. So, as a tour operator, if I know that certain days of the week are going to be busier than others and certain days are going to be slower, I could offer discounts on those slower days if I know what those days are. And that would encourage people to travel on those days when I'm less busy. So I've included a link to a video that explains big data and how predictive analysis, this is predicting trends and what's going to happen in the future, how that's useful within the industry. So it's a 2.5 minute video. It's not the most exciting video, but it does a pretty good job of explaining this. So I thought I would take this moment to talk to you about how I use travel technology. So, as you may or may not know, I'm the owner of a walking tour company here in Toronto. I have two different brands, Tour Guys and Toronto Urban Adventures. I am entirely web based. I don't have an office with a desk that people can come in and visit me. I just work from a laptop. So I am completely internet based. So I've listed the different pieces of technology, the different programs, and services that I use, so you can get a sense of what role technology plays in even a small company like mine. So I have a booking engine. This is a piece of software that I use for taking reservations, for taking payments, for scheduling tour guides, and for running financial reports. For that, I use FareHarbor, which is one of the most popular booking engines in the world. It began as a booking engine, a reservation platform for a sailing company, and they built it from the ground up, and they started adding more and more features. Other tour companies heard about it, and they started asking to use that software as well. Now FareHarbor has offices around the world. They have 24-hour customer service, and I think they're fantastic. Social media, I use this for marketing. Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. I use all three of those. I'm not on Snapchat or TikTok or uh, other social media platforms. I find that for travel, Facebook and Instagram are the best. Twitter is something I just connected to my Facebook feed. So whatever I post on Facebook also pops up as a post on Twitter, or I guess a tweet is what it's called. OTAs, that's short for online travel agencies, which I mentioned earlier. I use these as a sales channel. This is how I get a lot of my customers. Most OTAs can be linked to FareHarbor, FareHarbor's API, which is an API is how different two pieces of software can communicate with each other. So an OTA like, say, TripAdvisor, they are connected to my FareHarbor API. So if someone books a tour through TripAdvisor, it shows up in FareHarbor automatically. Likewise, if one of my tours is completely sold out, say on a Saturday afternoon, it will show up on TripAdvisor as unavailable. So it's a live connection between the two. It's live inventory. I'm also with, excuse me, with Expedia, Get Your Guide, Hotel Beds, and recently with Airbnb Experiences, along with a bunch of others. But those are the big ones. For a payment system, I do private tours and custom tours, and I typically invoice using Square. To create an invoice through FareHarbor requires a lot of work. With Square, I just input what the tour is, how much it costs, put in the person's email address, and the invoice goes out to them. They can then make a payment using a credit card online. So it's really, really easy. And Square also syncs with my accounting system, which is QuickBooks. For tour development and route planning, so this is how I plan new tours. I use Google Maps and I store all of the information on Google Drive. This way, I have access to this info no matter where I am, on mobile or on my laptop. The Google suite of products like Google Docs, the spreadsheets, all of that is fantastic. So many businesses use Google products because they are really easy to use. For project planning, so this is creating tasks and planning strategy. I use a bit of software called Asana. They also have a mobile app. This allows me to create to-do lists. It allows me to connect with my team, so I can assign tasks to other people through Asana. So if you're looking for a really good project management software, Asana is free. The basic package is completely free to use. It does have some limitations, but I find that the free version is good enough for what I need. If I grow much larger than I am, I may look at paying for the premium version of Asana with a lot more features. I have a tour guide team to communicate with them rather than create or use another program that isn't widely used. I've gone with Facebook Messenger. Pretty much everyone has a Facebook account. Everyone uses Facebook Messenger. So that's what I decided to go with. And of course, I use Gmail as my email client. For website design, my website is the core of my business. It is my storefront. So I used to design my own websites, and it was a few years ago I went with a company called Tourism Tiger. They are a website development company that specializes in tour companies and developing websites that are user friendly, they load really fast, and their customer service is also really good. If I need a new page built, I fill out a form containing what I want the web page to have, and they build it for me. So I use that for tour guides. With Toronto Urban Adventures, because I use Fair Harbor builds websites for their best clients. So I asked them to develop a Fair Harbor site for me, and I've been fairly happy with it to this point. So those are the bits of technology that I use in my business. So this is the last slide. Um, this slideshow has less slides than past slideshows, but there was a lot more content on each slide. So thank you for getting through all of it, and I encourage you to look at these websites here if you're interested in learning more about the history of travel technology. So the first link is the history of online travel. It is a bit of a long read, about 15 minutes, plus a podcast. So if you want to just listen to someone explain the history of online travel, this is a really good site. So Skift is the name of the site, skift.com. It's, in my opinion, the best website for information about the travel and tourism industry. So check out that particular page, but also get familiar with Skift, because if you're going to be part of this industry, you're going to want to follow them. The second link, the history of flight booking. This is really how travel technology got started. Like I said, it began with a program called Sabre, and it's another long read, but there is a great video explaining most of it embedded in the article. Actually, I think there are a few videos that do a really good job of explaining the history. So, this is the end of the lecture. I hope that you found it interesting. Do go back and look at the slideshow, click through the links, especially the ones that I mentioned you should really check out, and I will see you next time virtually.